How are you? And I understand you're going to try to go back to the jail tonight.
Yes, we just heard from the mayor, and she has invited Marjorie Taylor Greene and me to come to the jail right now tonight. So we're going to do that.
Why wouldn't they let you in a long time ago? You're a member of Congress. You were a man of import. And but were they hiding something? Why wouldn't they let you in early? You've been trying for months.
Yes, we've been trying for months, and it's a great question, Greg, and I think it has something to do with the fact that the conditions were so bad inside the D.C. jail. And I know there's some people on the left that are saying, well, you have no right to know anything about it. No, actually, the law is in D.C., Congress, has authority, and we have allowed home rule and passed a bill to that effect. But also under the law, and of course, as the law says, we can take that back any time if we find it necessary. But also with regard to the jail, it houses federal prisoners. And so even though it's referred to as D.C. jail, anytime they house federal prisoners, then the U.S. Congress, the Department of Justice, the Bureau of Prisons, all has a role in what goes on there. And that's why, and I think this is key as to why they're letting us in tonight, the U.S. Marshal went down and did a surprise inspection. And I don't know if the U.S. Marshal has heard my comments today, but it turns out, we've heard from people on the inside, that when the U.S. Marshal's office showed up for a surprise inspection, the jail folks were panicked. And so they cordoned off the area where the January 6th detainees are, along with some others in pretrial confinement, and let them go through the bigger area where there were more of the post-trial detainees. And while they were showing them the bigger area, they sent in all this flood of employees to start getting out the mold that's causing so much sickness and cleaning up like crazy, so that by the time they finished the bigger area, then they brought them into the other area. And interestingly, the area they had not had time to clean up, the U.S. Marshal's office said it's totally unworthy to have anybody detained there, and they're shipping out 400 or so people to other jails, mainly in Pennsylvania. And then by the time they got to the January 6th detainees, they'd gotten rid of so much of the gunk and the mold and the nastiness these guys have been living in for many months. And so they said, well, not great, but it's okay. We won't ship them out.
Okay.
They're the ones that should have been shipped out first, but for the duplicity there of cleaning up like crazy while they were inspecting while the marshals were inspecting the other area.
All right, so Congressman, let me jump in. It's obvious. Sure. It's obvious that they are persecuting these guys. They're being prosecuted, but they're being persecuted because of their political leanings. We know that there are some people in custody who didn't break anything and didn't hurt anybody, but they're still in there. And that's the part. I mean, jail is a crummy place, period. It is everywhere you go. That's unfortunate. I don't want these guys. I mean, that's bad, but it's kind of a fact of life. Sadly, shouldn't be, but it is. But the persecution of these guys just seems so un-American and so, quite frankly, illegal. What about that part?
It is un-American and it is illegal. And you've been covering this so well, Greg, as far as the $2 billion in damage to the rest of the country, and those people get out on the streets very quickly. And then people, as you point out, some of whom did no damage and yet or didn't hurt anybody, and yet they are treating them, like they're Ted Bundy or something. It's just so outrageous. And when you talk about un-American, go back to John Adams after the Boston Massacre. They were wanting to abuse some of the British soldiers that had fired weapons, and John Adams made clear that's not the American way, and he stood up for them in that aspect. I just wish some of the Democrats would join us in the concern, because someday it may be people they care about.
I thought Joe Biden had a real opportunity on Inauguration Day. He could have said, you know what, let's skip the impeachment. We don't need one. We don't need another one. And let's let's go easy on these folks. But no, he went the other way. Hey,
well,
by the way,
Greg, there's only one reason he didn't say that, and that's because nobody put it in his teleprompter.
Yeah, that's right. He seems to be along for the ride. But listen, the noise and the efforts of yours and your colleagues, you're making progress. You may have saved the life of Chris Worrell. He's been in custody for a long time. He has non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. We talked to him a few months ago. He's on the verge of being released. If it hasn't happened now, it's going to happen, I believe, within the next couple of minutes. Listen to him when we talk to him. How are you and how are the conditions?
Well, my condition is deteriorating daily, and I've been, held without any medical treatment for over 166 days now. The D.C. jail general practitioners have told me my doctor is not qualified, and he's been practicing treating cancer patients for over 26 years, but here I am with no medicine on their end.
You're going to see these folks tonight, and not Mr. Worrell. We think he's been released, and that's great. But please give him our best. We're thinking about him every night, and I thank you for what you've done. Hey, can I ask you this? The Judge Lamberth, and others, are they? He seems to be a good guy here. He seems to realize that this is not what America's all about. There are multiple judges involved, though, and some are not as enlightened as this individual.
No, I think he is trying to be a good judge. It took months before he started being able to perceive that the U.S. DOJ was pulling the wool over his eyes, and then he wouldn't stand for it. But let me also say, Greg, you are having a lot to do with the way things are changing here, because you've continued to bring this to light and help us bring this out. You've done a great job, and we're very grateful.
Well, it's an honor to hear that. So thank you. My goodness gracious. If we can play some small part, wow.
Well, you have.
Well,
you played a big part. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And again, good luck tonight, and give our best to the folks you'll be visiting. Many thanks, and to be continued. Congressman Gohmert, we'll be right back. You bet.